Hey, good afternoon, Megan. Thank you so much for evacuating the building that was on fire and coming and joining us on the Weird Superman podcast.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. A little fire drill or fire or something going on in the other building, but yeah, happy it still worked out. Happy to be here.
All right. Well, if the firemen go running through here at the same time, we'll just work
No
around it.
why. Yeah,
Yeah.
just keep.
Well, indeed, really great honor. Really appreciate your coming on. I loved your story. It's funny. I've retired as a high school coach last year after 30 plus years. And I knew of little Meghan Hunter back in high school over there in the next state in Utah, but I kind of lost track of you there for a little bit. And then I know Parker Wolf over at North Carolina, and he just signed a Nike NIL deal. And then I saw, oh, yeah, there's Meghan Hunter also signing an Nike NIL deal. There's your swoosh. Yeah, and I thought, wow, that's awesome how far you've come there. So, congratulations on that, first of all, but just,
You.
congratulations of where you've gotten at this point.
Thank you. I appreciate it. It's been a fun journey and yeah, happy to be where I'm at now.
Yeah, well, running is always a fun journey, isn't it?
Sure is.
Yeah.
One
Well,
way to put
good.
it. Yeah.
Yeah, just to give some people some perspective, obviously the college landscape has changed a whole lot now, and NIL deals are now a thing. It's great that athletes can be supported. We're such in the infancy of the whole process. It's going to be really interesting to see where it all goes. I don't think anybody can has any idea right now. I mean, it's funny. I was telling you off air how broken I am. I was just with at my orthopedic surgeon's office yesterday getting an injection in my foot. And he's an uncle of an NCAA hockey player. People who listen to this know I'm a huge hockey
Wow.
fan. And he's telling me that the coach actually walks in the locker room and hands out envelopes of money, of NIL money to the players.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, I doubt that happened 50 years ago, but
No.
yeah, ne never happened in my past. But I assume, though, that that's not exactly the case, that people are just coming over and handing you envelopes of money now, right?
Yeah, that'd be nice. Yeah, it doesn't quite work that way, but yeah, this is my sixth year now in college because of COVID and injury, still have this eligibility. And yeah, it's been amazing to kind of see the growth that NIL has created. And yeah, lots of changes just in the last couple of years.
Yeah. So if you could explain to people, how does the process all work? I mean, is it something where you apply for this, or they come out, reach out to you, or they, is there criteria? I mean, I'm sure most of us have no idea how this whole process works.
Yeah, there are some different brands that kind of have different processes for how the NIL works. But typically, from my experience, a brand has reached out, and I kind of see how I like it, see if it's a brand that I want to promote and support. And then from there, I'll kind of do posts for them, get some product or money for it. And yeah, that's kind of how it worked with Nike. Nike reached out and it was something I was really excited about. I've been using Nike for years, and so having a brand like Nike wanting to believe in me and invest in me has, but it was just like the coolest thing. I got pretty emotional when I first found out that yeah, Nike wanted to do an NIL with me, and so it's been a lot of fun. In a couple of weeks, I'll be going to Nike headquarters to meet some of the other distance runners that were signed by Nike. And yeah, they've been really generous with gear. And yeah, I'm super excited to be with the Nike team. And I think the NIL, um, just all the NIL, that process has just been a really cool thing for a lot of athletes like me.
Yeah. Oh, how cool. Well, yeah, that is going to be a pretty heady thing to go out to Oregon and
Yeah.
see the whole setup out there. I mean, I know you've run out there before, but still, it's that'll be so cool.
Yeah, I haven't been to Nike headquarters yet, so it'll be cool to be able to see what's there, and then also just meeting the other athletes that are also on this little journey with me.
Right.
So,
Yeah, so actually, a curious question here is this kind of exploded a couple weeks ago at the New York City Marathon. I don't know if you saw that story about the social media influencer who was basically getting in the way by having people filming him while he's out there running the New York City Marathon.
oh yes, I heard about that.
Yeah, and there's been some debate about, and also about just the funding for athletes now, because it seems like a lot of the big companies now would rather fund a social media influencer who maybe isn't even a serious runner. I put that in air quotes because everybody's serious in their own way, but as opposed to quote legit athletes. And I wondered when Nike approaches you with an NIL deal, do they say, well, Megan, you have to have a certain amount of presence out there in the social media world for this to be worthwhile to us? Or do they really care about, well, Megan can run, this time and, has potential to do this in the future? I mean, what's really more important in your conversations with them?
I'm honestly not sure if I can totally answer this question because I'm sure there is, yeah, a lot that the social media influence, a lot of differences that they have with NIL. I don't have the hugest following on Instagram, so there was never any talk about, okay, you need this many followers and you need to do all these things. Like, I'll post about Nike and all that, but yeah, I know there are some influencers that are doing really well with the NIL and probably making a lot more than I am. But yeah, I think there's just a lot of different factors, whether that's how you're doing competitively, kind of what your potential is, and then how you're doing with the social media stuff. And that's something I'd like to grow eventually. But
Yeah.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, that's good. Well, I'm glad to hear at least it sounds like they're more into Megan the runner as opposed to, yeah, can Megan spend her hours, creating reels and, doing superficial
Yeah,
stuff?
yeah, they seem a lot more invested in my running than my followers, which is nice.
Absolutely. Yeah. So let's talk a little bit about 2024. It's been a pretty exciting year for you, hasn't it?
Yeah, yeah, it's been a good one.
Yeah. Where would you like
Yeah,
to start? I mean, I mean, everything from track season to Olympic trials. I mean, all sorts of cool stuff going on, right?
yeah. Going into 2024, I mean, I had a lot of really big goals. The year before, I kind of had like a breakout race. Things had gone really well for me in high school, and then my collegiate years were kind of up and down, not going super well, but I was able to finish at nationals with a really exciting race. And so I just really wanted to keep that momentum going. And that's kind of what I was able to do going into indoor season. I ran times I was super excited about. I was feeling strong and healthy. And then it was just a couple weeks before nationals, we had our conference meet, and that one I just kind of tanked.
Yeah, I
It
saw that. Yeah.
uh, yeah, it was just not the race, and I just couldn't really figure out why. And I got in my head a lot, like, oh my gosh, like I've done so well, but now we're just back to like, oh, up and down. But before nationals, I had a teammate give me a card, and on the front it said, "What if?" And it was like, "What if it goes well? What if you have fun? What if you're successful?" And I felt like before I saw that, I was so like, well, what if the same thing happens at conference? And what if I just can't finish the race? And what if? And after seeing that card, I was kind of able to reframe things. Well, like, well, what if it actually goes well? And that's what happened. I was super excited with the to first of all just make the final at nationals, and then to also place third in the final.
Right.
Um, was something that I was just ecstatic about, and really excited about going into outdoor season. And there were various reasons why I chose to redshirt my outdoor year. I'm really glad that I did. It was fun kind of getting a taste of the professional life, like figuring out my own travel and all that. And yeah, it was a lot of fun. It was a really consistent year. And then near the end of it, I was able to lower my PR to 2 flat. So we're getting close to that sub 2 barrier. And
Which
that
is
happened just,
insane. Yeah.
yeah, yeah, little Megan would be really excited about that one.
Right.
Um, and yeah, so going into Olympic trials, I was excited, feeling good, and I made it to round 2. Um, and overall, it was just a really good, consistent year with some exciting races. And so yeah, it was just so fun to be able to see consistency when I hadn't seen that in the years before. And then yeah, the cherry on top was getting the Nike NIL.
Right.
And I'm super excited to kind of use that momentum moving forward for um yeah, this next season, which starts in just a couple weeks now. So
I know, scary, isn't it?
yeah, it comes up quick.
Yeah. And for the uninitiated, Megan's talking about you were running the 800 meters. I mean, even though you are a very versatile athlete, I mean, you've run everything from the 100 all the way through cross country, which typically is 5K, 6K for women. But but yeah, the 800 meters is kind of you've settled into as your sweet spot, haven't you?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I was more of a sprinter in high school and they moved me up in college. But yeah, I've learned to love the 800. It's been fun and hoping to throw a couple fours in this season. But yeah, yeah, focusing on the 800.
Yeah. Yeah, I had a girl I coached in high school here in, I guess, about 2018 who she medaled in the 100, 200, 400 at the state meet, and she was also top 10 in the state in cross country,
Oh
running
wow.
5K. Yeah, so she was amazing. I mean, she was just, the stud of the team, and she used to work out with the football team, weightlifting and everything. So
Oh
she,
wow.
yeah,
That's
so she
amazing.
was amazing. So I admire somebody who's got that kind of versatility and breadth of talent like you've got there. It certainly lends to your having some strong finishes in your races, does because the races I saw, you were kind of middle of the pack in a lot of them, and then kind of burst out toward the end, right?
Yeah, yeah, I'd say my strength is my finish. So yeah, yeah,
It helps, right?
does help. Yeah, it helps to have a strong finish, that's for sure.
Yeah. Well, cool. This has been, I guess, kind of a culmination of some years buildup since a pretty major accident you had, and I'm sure it's a little tough talking about it at times, but it's really a very motivational story. You were a rising star in Utah. We'll talk about that in a little bit, and then before you could get to college, things got derailed pretty quickly, right?
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, things were going pretty well in high school and I had a lot to look forward to. And it was the summer before my freshman year. It was July 4th of 2019. And my brother and I were on our way to go time a road race. So it was super early in the morning. We were driving up the canyon, and when we turned a corner, there was a deer in our headlights, and he swerved to miss it and ended up rolling the car several times. Um, and yeah, at first I was in a lot of denial. I was like, oh, my neck hurts, but like I'm okay. It's just whiplash. But yeah, I got to the hospital and found out it was a little more severe than we wanted it to be. I had broken my neck, C4, 5, and 6.
Yeah, just
And
just a little more severe, right?
yeah, just a little bit. Um, the spinal cord had been shifted, but luckily no damage there. And then yeah, dissected an artery. So um but yeah, I was life flighted to another hospital where I had a surgery to kind of put the bones back in place. And while I was there, I was told that I, if I ran again, it would be in another year or two. I guess the words that my doctor told my coach came straight to the hospital as soon as she heard I was being life flighted there. And the doctor told my coach, well, it's not like she's going to be an Olympian or anything. And Coach Taylor, she took that personally.
Yeah.
And but I was really grateful that night. My doctor, he went home and he kind of researched yeah, kind of looked me up, and right before I went to sleep for surgery, he was like 52.5, right? And that's my 400-meter PR. I was like,
Yeah.
yeah, right. And that gave me a lot of comfort. Like, okay, they know that this is something that matters to me, and these doctors are gonna do their best to help me get back to it. And um, it was about 6 months later that I was able to begin running on our anti-gravity treadmill, Ultra G.
Yep, I've
Um,
had many sessions on those myself. Yes.
yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
they're useful. We love
yeah,
them. We don't love to need to use them, but we love that they are there.
exactly. Yep.
And from there, just gradually transitioning back into running. And so, yeah, physically, the recovery was going pretty well. And I was able to actually get back into workouts and was feeling pretty well. Um, Physically, I still get soreness and tightness in my neck and shoulders. There's some things
Yeah.
in the room, but I feel really, really blessed that I've still been able to continue to compete. And yeah, it's been a journey kind of learning how to compete again mentally, but yeah, physically, um, yeah, I'm grateful I was able to go from breaking my neck to being able to run.
Yeah. Now, starting with the PT part, well, what did that kind of, what did it look like for you? Like, what kind of things did you have to work on?
So it wasn't like the typical PT that you might think of for like getting your ankle back,
Or your
strengthening different
knee or something? Yeah, right.
exercises.
Yeah,
Yeah, I guess your neck kind of moves enough throughout the day that
right.
that was kind of what it needed. And so I was in a hard neck brace for 3 or 4 months, and that was 24/7.
Yeah.
And once I got off of that, I had to kind of wean off of it for a month or so. Because yeah, I just my neck was skinny. It didn't have any muscle anymore. I just being held there for a few months. And so yeah, um, as far as like strengthening my neck back, um, range of motion wasn't all the way there. So it was just kind of, doctor told me just kind of move it around as much as you would in a
Yeah.
normal day. And
All
it
right.
was hard at first. My head felt so heavy and I had just started my freshman year. So I had to tell my teachers like I'm gonna be skipping out of class a little bit to go lay down, take some breaks and come back in. So it was a
I'm
lot
sure that's
less.
really, yeah, I'm sure that's really hard too when you're a freshman and you're at BYU. We haven't even mentioned that yet, but you're a freshman there and you're trying to like fit into the social aspect. And oh, here's this girl in the neck brace here. I'm sure that,
Yeah,
you
I
felt pretty
was still in the neck
self-conscious.
brace, needed help carrying her backpack around. I was
Right.
lucky to have my older sister on the team with me, and she was able to help me a lot with that. But there were a lot of times I just had to ask random people like, "Hey, I got to head to class this way. Like, can you just help me carry my backpack there?"
Right.
So yeah, it wasn't. I wanted to go into my freshman year feeling like the cute new freshman girl, but instead I was the girl with the neck brace. And yeah, I learned to be okay with it. But yeah, it was an adjustment for sure.
Yeah.
Different than my expectations.
Yeah, sure. Well, I've had neck surgery myself back in 2011, I think it was, and I've had people listening to this know I've had surgery on just about everything at this point here, and by far the most pain I've ever been in was from neck surgery. It was the absolute worst. I don't know how it was for you, but I've dealt with a lot of pain, but that was terrible.
Yeah, it was painful for sure. Yeah, following the surgery, I had a lot of pretty hard days. Your neck is just like it's so important for everything, like sitting, standing, even laying down, like getting in a comfortable spot was just so hard.
Oh yeah,
And then when I was weaning off of the neck brace, it was hard work. But
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
Although I found that whatever you have surgery on, you find out like, oh yeah, there's nothing I can do without that particular body part. I mean, like,
that is
I've had
true
both my knees operated
about
on. It's all of a sudden,
any
it's
part.
like, yeah, it's like, oh wow, that's right. I can't drive unless I like drive with my left foot or, you just, but yeah, the neck is a bad one for sure. I mean, your limbs all work, but oh my God, I mean, this is maybe a bad thing, but I didn't want to take the painkillers because I didn't think they worked very well.
Oh
And
no.
what's that?
Oh no. At least I had painkillers, so
Yeah, no, but I felt so stupid on the painkillers, so I found a bottle of Jack Daniels was the best thing. I, I just I just had to get hammered. It was the only way to get
gotta
through
do
it.
what
But
you gotta do, I guess.
yeah, exactly. Even though I live in Colorado, I don't know why I didn't even think about smoking weed, but it's just yeah, the booze was the only thing that get me through that kind of pain. It was terrible.
It's
Yeah,
painful, that's for sure.
yeah. All right, so we've talked about the physical part, but the mental part obviously is something a lot of people don't think about. Maybe the doctors don't address it quite as well, and you had some challenges there, huh?
Yeah. I think initially I was just really blessed. Like I had such a great support system. I had people visiting me in the hospital like all the time. Like I honestly hardly had a spare moment to myself for that first week and a half, which was great. That's what I needed. I just had the best friends and family, and I felt a lot of peace. And I felt like I had gotten to a place where I was like, if I don't end up running again, I will be okay. I had to kind of get
Yeah,
myself to that spot, and I was able to feel good for the and kind of be positive for that first probably year or so. It wasn't until about a year and a half later, um, I was at a track meet with some teammates. We were driving in the car, and it just, I wasn't really sure what exactly triggered it, but all of a sudden I just kind of felt like I didn't have control over my body, and I was hyperventilating, I was crying, and I was just so confused, like what's going on, and just kind of just a lot of fear, just feeling like I was gonna die. Um, and at first I thought like, okay, that was just a one-time thing, like I'll be okay. But then it happened again and again and again, and I was discovering all these different triggers. Something that was hard for me was driving in the rain, but then it even turned into if there was rain forecasted for that day or later that week, it could send me to a panic. And so
Really?
um,
What was it rainy when you guys swerved
it
and
actually wasn't, which
yeah.
is so weird. But my
Okay.
first panic attack, it was raining. And
Hmm.
so, yeah, yeah, the brain is interesting, just making different connections, doing different things,
Right.
sometimes for better or for worse. Um, but yeah, just lots of different triggers. And that kind of translated over to my races as well. I had a really hard time controlling those nerves and anxiety. It kind of went from like panic to just like there was just anxiety all the time. I just turned into a very anxious person,
Yeah.
and
What was that like
that's
be before the races, or did you actually feel it while the race was going on?
mostly before. Like yeah,
Yeah.
I would just kind of use all my energy before the race, and
Ah, yeah.
a lot of really negative self-talk as well. Like I just wasn't setting myself up well for racing.
Yeah.
And then if we race in Oregon a lot, and it rains in Oregon a lot.
Yeah.
And
Right.
so even sometimes there was some panic before a race, which, yeah, obviously won't set you up super well.
Yeah.
And
So
so, yeah.
I mean, you strike me as a very positive person, first of all. And in fact, you know, in all your pictures that I've seen, you're smiling, even in the hospital with a neck brace on, you've got a smile on your face. So you seem like a very positive person. So what kind of negative thoughts were infiltrating your brain?
Just kind of thinking worst case scenario about the
Yeah.
future. Um, Everything in my mind is so much worse in the future than how it actually turns out to be.
Yeah.
For example, like the Sunday scare is so bad. I get so nervous about the week, and I'll freak out and just think like, well, what if this is going to happen? This is going to happen. And so yeah, just a lot of negative thoughts about the future, and then just also with confidence. I'm like, well, these other people can do it, but I don't think I can. Things like that, just thoughts that logically they aren't true, but emotionally that's hard to kind of separate
Yeah.
and realize.
Wow. Well, that's rough stuff. So how did you cope with that?
Um, it's there's been a lot of ups and downs. Sometimes there's been some things that have been helpful. I've gone through a lot of different therapies, and something I remember the most from one of my earlier therapy sessions was I had her tell me that you're doing a lot of things right, but something that you don't realize is that progress isn't linear.
Sure.
And I think when I would go in like one of those holes, I would think, well, there's no way out. Like I made some progress, but then it's just all over now. Like everything's over. And so just kind of reframing that mindset and realizing like there will be ups and downs. And when there's a down, we don't need to freak out, make it go down any further. Like there's
Yeah.
been you need to look back and realize the progress. And so just kind of realizing that progress isn't linear. There will be ups and downs, and it's not the end of the world when you're at it down. And then something that's been helping me recently is we call it looking at the evidence. Um, when I get nervous for a workout or a time trial or a race, I think, okay, but this is going well. My nutrition's been great. My sleep has been going great. I've shown that I'm able to close well. And writing those things down, I've learned that writing things down helps me a lot to kind of channel that energy into somewhere else, kind of to visualize it. And then, yeah, just realize that logically, the evidence shows that I will be okay. And yeah, just kind of trying to separate my emotions and what is reality has been really helpful for me
Yeah.
recently.
Yeah. Well, that makes sense. In the traveling I've done a lot of world traveling, and a lot has been with a 25-year-old who, he and I have this joke going that something always screws up when you're traveling. Planes get canceled, delayed,
Right.
hotels, whatever. And you know what? We always land on our feet, and our motto is pretty much, it'll all work out.
Yeah,
No
it
matter what,
always
it'll all
works
work
out.
out. So,
Mhm.
and you're seeing a lot of that yourself right now. So when you're doing your journaling, though, are you like doing it to write down those negative things just to kind of offload them, or what do you actually jot
Yeah,
down?
I do some of each. Sometimes I'll kind of jot down those negative things just to kind of get them off my shoulders, but more often it's kind of the positive things, like the positive things of like what could actually happen and still make them realistic, right? Like I'm not gonna put down there, I'm gonna run a 152. But things more like I've shown that I can finish strong.
Right.
Um, and like it can go well, things like that. And yeah, that's been helpful to kind of put in my brain after writing it down.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. No, I think that's great advice for people to just, sometimes just regurgitate it, all those things that, are
Mhm.
going through your head, and
Yeah,
just basically
organize
empty
your
out
thoughts.
yeah, exactly. And it doesn't have to be negative or positive. Just get them out there, and then you can sit back, take a look at it, and it's like, okay, well, that negative stuff, I kind of crumpled it up and dropped it in the trash can or whatever.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah,
No,
it's been
that's
for me.
yeah. Are you still doing that today?
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah, yes. I use that and it's been helpful because I have made a lot of progress and growth with the PTSD and anxiety, but it's something that I think is gonna be with me kind of for a long time and I'm a lot better at coping with it. But yeah, I still have to work to make sure things are okay, that I'm staying as positive as I can.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it gives me two thoughts. One is that it's very similar to physical recovery. We've both been through our things. I've been through all my surgeries and everything, and it's never linear. There are always, some steps forward, some steps back. To me, a lot of people say, well, as long as I'm taking two steps forward, one step back. I actually modify that a little bit because to me, it's like I don't think you can be afraid that if you take one step forward, that you might take two steps back. It happens. But the whole thing
mhm.
is, overall, you're still going to make progress. It's just sometimes you have to find out how
Mhm.
far can you push it. Maybe you've pushed it too far once. It's not like it's the end of the world. It's not like, oh my God, I'm going to have to go back under the knife again or anything like that.
Right. Yeah. And
Yeah,
I like what you said about the airport. Like you look back and like, well, we always end up back on our feet. And it reminds me of something right before I was put into the life flight helicopter. I asked my dad, like, am I gonna be okay? And I didn't really know what okay meant at that time. My dad didn't either, but he said, yeah, it's gonna be okay. And that like simple moment has really stuck with me. And that's been another thing where as I get anxious or something big is coming up, just thinking it's gonna be okay. And kind of thinking back to when my dad told me that and looking back, like, yeah, it has all been okay. Things haven't turned out perfectly or how I might have wanted it to be at that time, but it's turned out okay and it's going to keep on being okay. So,
yeah, no, absolutely. And I want to return to that in just a moment. My Another little philosophy I have that kind of touches on something you just said a moment ago was, I spent 22 years as a rape crisis center counselor, the only guy there for many years, but. Um, People we learn the training there is like there's no timeline. Nobody says, hey, Megan, that happened I don't know how many years ago now, 5 years ago. Nobody says you have to be over it by now, I mean, or some people say, you should be over it by now, come on.
mhm.
Everybody has their own timeline, and you may feel like, hey, you've been doing great for 10 years, all of a sudden something triggers and sets you back a little bit, but everybody moves in their own timeline, and however long it takes you to start feeling like that PTSD is mostly tucked away, it's fine. That's your timeline.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. Something that has been super helpful through this process is realizing that there's so many people kind of going through similar things as me as well that I can kind of reach out to and lean on to. Like when I first started having PTSD symptoms, I was like, I'm so weird. Like this shouldn't be happening to me. Like
Right.
what's going on? But I learned that so many other people are dealing with similar things as well. And that's been really helpful to kind of have that support. But then also at the same time, yeah, you got to be careful to not compare your journey to someone else's. And as I've met people with similar challenges, I've seen that yeah, there's just a lot of different ways that people have dealt with things, a lot of different timelines, and yeah, it's important to have that support group, but also to be careful to not compare your journey with anyone else's.
Yeah, no, that's great. And that's why I'm really appreciative that you're willing to share your journey on this platform here. There's been a lot of attention with Simone Biles and Naomi Osaka, very notable women athletes who have gone through similar, kind of different, but similar kind of mental health issues. And
Mhm.
trying to destigmatize the whole thing and realize that everybody has their own journey, and obviously people could celebrate this summer when Simone Biles was able to victoriously come back from her twisties, whatever however you'd want to term that. But yeah, people need to take care of themselves, and Simone Biles worked it out in her own time, and came back. And so you're working through the same things. You're seeing a lot of success, and obviously, there's always more growth to work on, right?
Yeah, yeah, always more growth for sure. And it's cool to see people going through something similar and still doing amazing things. In the past, I felt like I would get really down on myself with being anxious and all panicky all the time. But reframing that and realizing like, okay, I can be this way, obviously want to treat that as best I can, but I can
Yeah,
be this way and still do great things. And there's also a lot of great things about my anxiety in a way. I'm driven, I'm motivated, I get things done. And so yeah, just kind of realizing that people can do amazing things even when things aren't going perfect or as planned. And
right.
yeah, it's cool to be able to see other people's stories similar to that.
Yeah. Oh, so cool. I love it. Um, I know you had a kind of a major setback when you were in high school, with the knee injury yourself, and I wondered how much that experience, the fact you lost time and opportunities, et cetera, played into the recovery that you've been working on since the car accident.
Yeah. Um, yeah, I tore my PCL my senior year. It was in November. I was playing powder puff football and I
Which,
got
by the way,
tackled.
as a high school coach, I used to lecture girls all the time about how every year we'd lose somebody on the team to
Yeah,
powder puff football. And they're always, no, no,
oh
no, coach,
no.
it's not going to happen every year. And I'm like, okay, I'm just the stupid one here, but whatever. Yeah, but I'm sorry,
No,
go
yeah,
ahead.
I was warned. My high school coach advised against it, but I didn't listen.
Of
And I had a
course.
lot of fun up until that happened.
Yeah, it was all
Um,
fun until somebody fell off the cliff. Right. Yeah.
right.
Yeah.
Yeah. But um yeah, I had a couple different injuries in high school that I think kind of prepared me for this. Helped me kind of put things in a different perspective of realizing that there are so many things more important than running, as much as I love running. When running isn't going well, I need to be able to put time and energy into other things. Even when running is going well, I need to be putting my time and energy into other
So
things. But
true. Yep.
yeah, I think a big thing was that helped me through this was yeah, just my perspective and um those high school injuries helped me with that. And then also just yeah, patience. Like I learned I just needed to be patient with a lot of injuries. And that helped me. So yeah, it's I think I was really prepped well for this accident. I think little Megan kind of went through some different things and learned lessons that ended up helping me here. And I think I'm continuing to do that. I think, 5, 10 years down the road, something else will happen and I'll be able to look back and be like, oh wow, like where I'm at right now, like that's kind of helped get me
Yeah.
ready for things down the road. And that's what I love about running. I've learned so much. from this sport and grown so much. And so yeah, I'm really grateful that I've had the opportunities that I've had with running because I think it's just making me a better person down the road. Um, yeah, related to things not even close to running, but still so important.
Oh yeah. No, through all the injuries and surgeries I've had, I've always kind of made it into like a just a job. It's like, okay, my knee's jacked up, so I'm going to be in this brace for 6 weeks, and I just got to put my head down and start doing the work. And I think that applies a lot to the rest of the world. In fact, I kind of would joke during the pandemic. I said, I wish everybody in the country had been a marathoner, ultra marathoner, because you learn there's always a low time in every one of those races. And you know what? You just put your head down and work through it. And I thought if we could have just done that during the pandemic, instead of fighting each other and complaining about this restriction, that restriction, you just put your head down and we'll all get through this. But not everybody had the marathoner mentality, unfortunately.
Yeah, I love runners. Runners are just the best.
Yeah.
Get
Well,
through this. Yeah.
yeah, and hopefully someday you'll join the ultra marathon community and you'll learn how great the people are out there. In fact,
Someday, not yet, Bill, not yet, but someday.
okay. Yeah, I've run the Squaw Peak 50 miler out there, which is right outside of Provo. I've run
Oh,
that race
wow.
there, so going up there, check it out, and then you'll say, I need to come back and do that someday."
Hey, yeah, I'll get that feeling. My dad was an 800-meter runner in college as well, and now he does amazing with the marathons, at least. So
Cool.
I don't know. Maybe there's some of that in my future, but
Yeah,
not yet.
and your sister has done a 100 miler, right?
Yes. She's amazing. I look up to my sister a lot. And it was just this last summer that she did a 100 miler. So yeah, maybe I'll have to join her one of these days.
Yeah. Well, at least get out there, crew her, pace her. You'll start seeing what it's all about.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now, tell us a little bit about the relationship you've had with your dad and with the rest of your family. I mean, obviously, they've played a huge part in where you are right now, right?
Yeah, they're definitely the ones who got me into running. I remember starting cross country in high school, and at first I was like, this is not for me. Like, I'm gonna break the family mold and go play volleyball or something instead. I gave it a couple weeks and realized, like, oh, actually, this is kind of fun. And I had my older sister on the team with me. She's 2 years older than I am.
Right.
And then I have a little brother who's 2 years younger than I am. So I was able to have family with me on the team throughout high school.
Cool.
Um, and so, yeah, they're kind of the ones who motivated me into running. And my older sister, phenomenal high school athlete. She was phenomenal in college as well. And just seeing her success really motivated me and inspired me, thinking, well, I guess I can try to do that too. And so, yeah, it was kind of fun to follow her footsteps there. And then my dad has just always been so supportive and he's always been there. I think sometimes parents kind of will get in the way of coaches and um like yeah trying to do their thing, but my dad, he's very close to me, but he's also hands off like when he needs to be with coaches and trainers and stuff. And so I love how involved he is, and just yeah, very supportive. I know no matter how things go, he'll still be so proud of me. And so he's been amazing. And then I have to give a shout out to my mom as well. She's
Yeah.
also just always there supporting me, and yeah, someone that I can count on to still be so proud, no matter how things go.
Oh, that's awesome. I mean, I know they had to have been huge to you when you were recovering from all this. I mean, it's a
Right.
team effort.
My
There's no way,
mom, yeah,
yeah,
my mom took such a care of me. She was just always there, helping me out, kind of dropping everything else to just kind of be there for me. And then, yeah, my sister, she was there all the time as well. And my dad, he'd look up YouTube videos on how to curl hair so that he could curl my hair so I could look pretty for an interview or whatever,
right.
because it was too hard to like bring my hands up. And so, yeah, all of them played such a big role in my recovery and helped me to get here.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. And what about your team? I mean, they obviously had to
Yes,
have been huge
I
support to you. And
love
a
this
lot of them
team.
didn't even know you at the time, right?
Yeah, this team. It's the reason why I chose BYU. I was recruited by Oregon and USC, but I ended up choosing BYU because I just love the feel of the team and the people here. It's just yeah, a sisterhood. We all love each other. We want each other to do well. Um, and so yeah, I've had amazing teammates. The teammate I'm really close to right now is Christy. She's just been working so hard and she inspires me in a lot of ways. And I've had a lot of teammates as well that things haven't gone so well for them for running. They've gone through challenges and sometimes no matter how hard you try it, it just doesn't work
Yeah.
out. And um yeah, my teammate Kaylee Thompson, she graduated last year, but she has gone through so much and she didn't get the success that she wanted or worked so hard for, but she was always just putting her head down. And that was just so inspiring to me. I love my team. It's a lot of really hardworking women, and they've inspired me and helped me along the way.
Yeah. No, that's awesome. And BYU's had a lot of success in recent years. I mean,
Yeah,
I know Ed Eyestone from way back, but I mean, I haven't been in touch with him in years, but he's really built quite the program out there, hasn't he? Oh, all the
yeah,
coaches have. Yeah.
yeah. All the coaches have for sure. Coach Iceland's been doing amazing. Coach Taylor has been doing amazing, and yeah, I think there's a lot of reasons for our success, but one of those reasons is just kind of the unity that we have and just the fact that we all really want to see each other succeed. And so and we're all just kind of pushing each other to succeed. And so yeah, we have a really great team here and it's been so much fun to be a part of.
Yeah. Well, that's cool. Well, at BYU, I noticed you are studying a field that doesn't quite fit in with anything there. And I'm sorry, I got to look at my notes here, but it was speech and language pathology. Is that what it's called?
Yes, speech and language pathology. That's what I'm doing. It's been a lot of fun. I'm doing my internships right now. I'll graduate with my um master's next summer. And it's been so cool. I got to work at a nursing facility for a little bit, helping the older population swallow and helping them with cognitive issues as well and different language post problems post stroke. And it was so cool to learn from these old people that have been through life and have been going through hard things. And then right now I'm at an elementary and preschool, and these kids are so precious. It's been so much fun. So yeah, it's been a really good field for me. It's something I didn't really realize was a thing. I knew there was speech therapists in schools, and it actually wasn't until I was in the hospital that there was a speech therapist that came in to make sure everything was okay with my swallowing
Mm,
and my speech.
yeah.
And I was like, they have those here? Like, that's weird. So that was when I first learned that there's so many different things we can do with my degree. And yeah, I've loved it. It's been the right choice for me.
Yeah. Now, were you already thinking of studying it when you were in the hospital, or was that the trigger for it?
I think there were just a lot of different triggers for it along the way. And I think that's the first time that I actually really thought about speech therapy. And then there were some other things that happened along the way that kind of led me to choosing this. But yeah, definitely the first time that I realized it was a thing. So yeah.
Hmm. Okay. So, was there anything in particular that got you deciding you wanted to go into that field? I mean, quite often people have life experiences or something that spark an interest. I mean, aside from your accident there and everything, there's something that made you think this is what I want to do?
Yeah, growing up, I just always wanted to do something medical or teaching.
Okay.
And this was just kind of the perfect in between. My freshman year, I was like, I need to be going to school, like knowing what I'm doing. Like, I don't
Right.
want to just go to school not really knowing. And so I had a list of all the majors. I would go one by one and just mark them off. And this is the one that just kept popping up. But first I was like, oh, it's a smaller program. Like, it'll conflict with practice times. Like, I don't think I should. And then it came up again. And I was like, ah, but you really got to go to grad school to get a good job in it. And I don't
Hmm.
really want to do that. But I just kept going back to it. And before I even did this list, my dad randomly mentioned, like, you would make a good speech therapist. And I was like, oh, okay,
Yeah.
interesting. And yeah, took the intro class and I loved it. So yeah, stuck with it.
Yeah. Is that a particular program that BYU specializes in?
Um, BYU does well with it, but there's yeah, a lot of different universities there. Um, at least at the big universities, there are three here in Utah that have a graduate program for it.
Yeah.
So yeah.
All right. So you've had a COVID year, you've had, your injuries, redshirting, what have you, and now graduate school. Like, how old are you now?
I am 23.
23.
So
Okay. Yeah.
yeah,
And
yeah, I have a summer birthday. So
yeah. All right. And then you have one more year of outdoor eligibility.
yeah, just this upcoming indoor and outdoor season I'll
Okay.
have. So yeah.
Gotcha. So I guess when you come to graduation, and everything, you may be at a little bit of a crossroads. Are you going to choose running? You're going to choose speech pathology? You're going to try to do both? What are your plans here?
In a dream world, I would love to continue to run. Yeah, just continue to run and then also do some part-time speech. I still want to make use of my degree and I I've worked with a busy schedule in the last couple years, so I think I'd still do well just kind of doing some part-time speech therapy while still chasing my dreams and my goals through
Yeah.
running.
Yeah, okay. I mean, it sounds like it's been rewarding. I coach a lot of kids who've told me that, like, well, I don't know if I want to run in college because I'm going to be so busy. And I say, well, if you look at every single person on that team there, they're all figuring it out. There's no reason why you can't. I mean, yeah, what would you tell some of those kids about, how you've been able to juggle your schedule?
It does get really hard at times. But the biggest thing that's helped me is just kind of having a why for everything. Like really realizing like why I'm doing each thing and just kind of diving deep into it. Like why am I studying my program? One of those just yeah, get a degree, but even deeper than that, like I want to be able to help people and someday support a family and just kind of making sure that you have good reasons and kind of recognizing those reasons for each area in your life has been super helpful for me, at least just kind of having a why behind each of those things that you're
Yeah,
juggling.
I think that's true in every stage of life, really. So,
Yeah.
you have to ask everybody, even, you get to the starting line of, say like something like an ultra marathon, crazy races that I do. You got to be really um, committed to that. I mean, otherwise, it's really easy to say, "What in the world am I doing here? This is the stupidest thing ever." I mean, you really have to be very convicted of what you want to do there. So I think that's true just about everything you're doing, right?
Right. Yeah. Gotta have a why.
Yeah. So, um, stepping back into high school, you, as we mentioned before, you had a wide breadth. I mean, I think I read you were the first Utahn to win four events in the same state track meet. Um, could you foresee like any of where you might head with this at the time? I mean, was it just a matter of, okay, I'm just a kid, I'm just going to go run these races, or did you really have some sort of strong conviction at that point?
I think I definitely had like goals and like big dreams at the time, but they're not really anywhere near what they are now. Like back my freshman year, it was like, whoa, if I could run for BYU, like that would be the most amazing thing in the world. Then it led to like, oh, like I think I could break a state record. And it led to, oh, like I think I could do well collegiately. So just kind of little by little things have changed and my goals have just gotten bigger. So yeah, there was definitely some like, oh, I think I can do this, but it would start with kind of littler things and it's grown into things a lot bigger.
Yeah. Well, so that segues really well into what I'm going to ask you next here is that so this past summer you got to start running with some of the household names, you might say, of the track world. I mean,
Yeah.
or maybe not with them, but even in the same meet. I mean, I think you were at the same meet as like Safan Hassan and some of the other, real notables out there. I mean, looking at them, did that suddenly open your eyes to like, oh my goodness, I'm kind of on the same stage here and, something to aspire to here. Did those thoughts cross your mind?
Yeah, it's been super cool to be able to compete with those people and be like, oh, like I'm here, not quite to their level, but like it's definitely inspiring. And I think what's been even more inspiring for me this year is seeing my own like past teammates. We have Whitney Orton, and Courtney Wayman like doing so well. Like they're Olympians and
Right.
they used to be in my shoes. And so seeing those people really close to me do big things is really inspiring. And I think that's something that's been helping our team, like seeing like, oh, they're doing this. Like I might as well try. So
Yeah.
yeah, that's been inspiring.
Did you ever get inspired by a couple of guys? What are their names? Clayton and Connor or something, who I think
Yes,
did
I
pretty
love
well.
them. They're the greatest people. Connor Mance's wife and I are actually interning at the, well, she's doing student teaching at the same school that I am doing my internship at. So that's been fun. But yeah, they both have just great families and it's so cool to see them working together doing big things.
Yeah. It is just incredible. And, just so many storylines with them. And they're so consistent. I mean, American
Right.
marathoners, we haven't quite hit the pinnacle in a lot of cases, but it sure seems like we're hanging around, and those guys haven't had any bad races as far as I've been watching them.
Yeah, staying consistent and have more to go. So I'm excited to keep watching them.
Yeah. So what would be your ultimate goal? I mean, what would, everybody could say, oh, I want to win an Olympic gold medal or something. I mean, is that on your radar, or is it something like, do you have like other things in mind that you'd really like to accomplish?
Um, yes, I do have big goals. I would love to be an Olympian someday or just making a US team. But something I've realized is that the process goals have been so much more beneficial for me than outcome goals.
Yes.
Just kind of enjoying the process and doing things little by little there. And so, yeah, obviously it's important to have goals, but I try to lean more towards kind of those process goals and just kind of taking it one step at a time and just having fun with the sport. So yeah, I have things in my head, but also just wanting to keep improving, keep progressing, and having fun with it.
Yeah. No, that's great. No, and I'm a big believer in that. I mean, my A race for this summer ended up being a disappointment for me, but I had such a
Mhm.
great summer of training leading up to it. I look back and it's like, I mean, my training is going out and running on mountain trails and climbing 14ers, and it's like, that
Mhm.
was so much fun. And, so it's like it buffers the disappointment a little bit, and you have to appreciate that, especially that I was healthy enough to do that, which doesn't happen often enough.
Mhm. Yeah, yeah. Take advantage of being healthy.
Yeah, tell me about it. Yeah, that's why take advantage of it while you can, Megan, because when you get to be old and decrepit like I am, it's like those moments become too fleeting, I'm afraid.
Well, you're still doing amazing things. So,
Trying. Thank you. Appreciate that. So, what haven't we touched on yet here? What have we missed out on?
uh, yeah, I feel like we've covered some really good things. I think um kind of the biggest thing that I've learned is just kind of looking at the big picture. Um
Mhm.
and yeah, I mean, I've mentioned Little Megan a couple of times now, but thinking about Little Megan and future Megan and like what do I want to be doing right now to make both of them proud and kind of setting future Megan up in the best places possible. So yeah, just kind of looking at the bigger picture, seeing that progress isn't linear, but there's still progress, and then just making sure I'm setting myself up in the best way possible
Yeah,
um, is something that's really important to me.
yeah, for sure. No, I like that a lot. If you were to give people just a little, like, this is a quirky thing that Megan does, or maybe that BYU does. I mean, like, I'll tell people the story all the time of like, I don't get blisters in races, which is, a weird thing because I wear two pairs of women's nylons underneath my socks. It's very
Oh,
funky. It's
interesting.
what's that?
Oh, that's interesting. Yeah,
Yeah,
haven't
no,
tried
it's it's
that.
a it's a little technique I learned, and they rub against each other so you don't get the blistering, which is it's not an 800-meter race. This is for 50-mile, 100-mile races, whatever. But is there something a little quirky thing that Megan's got here? A little tip, pro tip you might say?
The first thing that comes to mind is I used to be pretty superstitious about hair. I would do like the braided back hair. And that's what I would always race in throughout high school. That was always what I was wearing. And in college, I've tried to branch out a little bit more. But yeah, I used to be superstitious with that. And then a lot of times I'll do different colored socks. In high school, it was always a pink and a green sock. The green was for Provo High, my team, and the pink was for me because that's my favorite color.
Right, right.
And so just kind of having different colored socks that represent something for that day is something that I'll do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Well, who's the oh, she's a steepler out in Oregon, and I'm spacing out her name right now. I've met her, but she's the one who kind of started this Braids Friday or whatever. I was trying to think, I'm asking you whether that's where that came from, but it was just and you
Yeah.
see,
Oh yeah. It was my freshman year. It's like I'm gonna have one hairstyle that I stick to. And so that's what I did all of high school. Yeah.
well, it worked for whatever reason, right?
Yeah, it worked.
Yeah. Yeah, speaking of the steeplechase, I mean, that's kind of an event that BYU is known for. And I know you did a little hurdling in high school yourself. And I'm a hurdles coach, which has always been one of my passions. But have you ever considered going into the steeple?
That's a little too far for me.
Okay.
It, it was enough moving up to the 800. So I'll stick with my flat 800 for now. And I doubt I'll be going much further than that. But
Oh, so the 15 isn't on your
it's fun to
radar at
try.
all.
Yeah, maybe we'll try it again someday, but yeah.
All right. Nope, fair enough. Well, that's good. So hey, Megan, this has been fantastic. Where can people find you out in the social media world if they'd like to follow you?
Yeah, mostly I use Instagram. So
Okay.
my Instagram handle is Megan. I spell it with an H, Meghan, then underscore ANNE. Megan underscore Ann. It's my middle name, but the one with two N's was already taken. So
Oh, so rather than add numbers or anything, you just went for another N. That's
yep,
cool.
extra N. Yeah.
Great. Okay, well, thank you. Hopefully, people follow you there and see some amazing things in your indoor and outdoor seasons. So, where are you starting indoor season? You say just a couple weeks from now, huh?
Yeah, it'll be in Boston, December 7th, season opener.
Oh, wow, that's a big meet to start off with.
Yeah, it's a fun one. It's a nice track, so looking forward to
Definitely.
it.
Yeah. Is that at the Reggie Lewis Center there? I think it's called something like that.
Maybe it's at Boston University, like the
Yeah.
track tennis center. Yeah.
Yep. All right. Well, good. Well, good luck to you there. And I will let you move along here, but really appreciate you joining me on this beautiful afternoon here out in the Rocky Mountains. And wish you the best of luck this coming season. I'm just so appreciative you would chat with me here. This is fantastic. Thank you.
So yeah, thanks for having me.
You bet. Oops.